When we talk about the golden age of first-person shooters, one title that stands out as a true pioneer is GoldenEye 007. Released in 1997 for the Nintendo 64, this game didn't just change the way we viewed movie tie-ins. It redefined what a first-person shooter could be on a home console. Developed by Rare, a studio already known for its knack for innovation with titles like Donkey Kong Country and Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye was an unexpected masterpiece that took the gaming world by storm. Set in the sleek, dangerous world of James Bond, GoldenEye was based on the 1995 film of the same name. However, it wasn't just a straightforward adaptation. Rare took the essence of the Bond universe and translated it into a gameplay experience that was as thrilling as it was groundbreaking. The game stood out not only for its cinematic single-player campaign, but also for its revolutionary multiplayer mode, which became the stuff of legends. The split-screen deathmatches, where friends gathered around a single TV, created a social gaming experience that was both competitive and incredibly fun. This mode alone solidified GoldenEye as a party game classic, and it's still fondly remembered as one of the greatest multiplayer experiences of the era. In many ways, GoldenEye was ahead of its time. It was a game that not only captured the spirit of its source material, but also transcended it, becoming a cultural phenomenon in its own right. Even today, over 2 decades later, it's fondly remembered by gamers who spent countless hours mastering its missions and battling their friends in multiplayer mayhem. The game's influence is undeniable, and it remains a shining example of how great design, innovation, and a little bit of Bond magic can come together to create something truly special. The story of GoldenEye is a key element that ties the game so closely to its cinematic counterpart, yet it expands upon it in ways that make it feel like an integral part of the James Bond universe. While many video games based on movies tend to fall short, GoldenEye manages to capture the essence of the 1995 film, all while giving players the freedom to experience the thrill of being James Bond firsthand. The game begins with Bond infiltrating a Soviet chemical weapons facility in Arkhangelsk, Russia. This iconic opening mission, set 9 years before the events of the main story, serves as a prelude to the larger narrative showcasing Bond's legendary skills as a spy and setting the stage for the betrayal by Trevelyan. As Bond, players must navigate the facility, plant explosives, and ultimately escape, but not before witnessing the supposed death of Trevelyan at the hands of Soviet General Aremov. As the story progresses, Bond travels to various global locations, each meticulously recreated from the film to uncover the truth behind the Janus organization and its plans for the GoldenEye. The game's narrative is driven by a series of high-stakes missions that take Bond from the snowy mountains of Severnaya, where the GoldenEye satellite is controlled, to the bustling streets of St. Petersburg, and eventually to the climactic showdown in the jungles of Cuba. The story of GoldenEye is a masterful blend of cinematic fidelity and interactive storytelling. It captures the essence of the James Bond franchise, allowing players to experience the intrigue, action, and drama of being a 00 agent. By staying true to the film while also expanding upon its narrative, GoldenEye stands as a shining example of how to adapt a movie into a video game, offering an immersive experience that has captivated players for decades. The gameplay of GoldenEye is where the game truly shines, setting a new standard for first-person shooters on consoles and creating a blueprint that would influence the genre for years to come. Unlike the fast-paced run-and-gun style of many C shooters at the time, GoldenEye introduced a more methodical and strategic approach, emphasizing stealth, precision, and a variety of mission objectives that went beyond simply eliminating enemies. This approach made the gameplay feel deeply immersive and true to the spirit of James Bond, where cunning and finesse were just as important as raw firepower. At its core, the gameplay of GoldenEye revolves around a series of missions that are structured to reflect the narrative arc of the movie. Each mission is set in a different location, ranging from the Soviet dam at Arkhangelsk to the streets of St. Petersburg and the treacherous jungles of Cuba. These environments are not just backdrops, but are integral to the gameplay, offering different challenges and requiring players to adapt their strategies based on the terrain and objectives. The inclusion of stealth mechanics was another groundbreaking feature. Players were encouraged to take a covert approach, using silenced weapons and avoiding detection to accomplish their goals without alerting the entire enemy force. This emphasis on stealth added a layer of depth and replayability to the gameplay, as players could experiment with different tactics to achieve the best possible outcome. For example, sniping enemies from a distance or taking them down quietly with a silenced pistol became viable strategies, rewarding patience and precision over brute force. The controls of GoldenEye, while initially unconventional, were perfectly tailored to the Nintendo 64's unique controller. Movement was handled by the AC buttons, while aiming was controlled by the analog stick, allowing for a level of precision that was rare in console shooters of that era. The game also offered an auto-aim feature that helped compensate for the lack of a second analog stick, making it easier for players to hit targets without sacrificing the fluidity of movement. This control scheme, though different from what modern players are used to, was intuitive and responsive, contributing to the game's accessible yet challenging gameplay. The gameplay of GoldenEye is a masterclass in design, combining innovative mechanics, varied mission objectives, and a groundbreaking multiplayer mode to create an experience that was far ahead of its time. The game's attention to detail, combined with its focus on strategy and stealth, made it a standout title that redefined what a first-person shooter could be on consoles. Even today, the gameplay of GoldenEye remains as thrilling and engaging as it was over 2 decades ago, solidifying its place as one of the most influential and beloved games in history. It is time for the crowning jewel of GoldenEye. The multiplayer mode of GoldenEye is where the game truly cemented its legendary status, transforming it from an already impressive single-player experience into a cultural phenomenon that would define social gaming for an entire generation. While the game's single-player campaign showcased Rare's ability to craft a tight cinematic narrative within the confines of a first-person shooter, it was the multiplayer mode that turned GoldenEye into a staple of countless gaming nights, making it a must-play for anyone who owned a Nintendo 64. What makes GoldenEye's multiplayer so iconic is how it took a relatively straightforward concept and elevated it through a combination of clever design, variety, and pure fun. At a time when split-screen multiplayer was still a relatively new feature on consoles, GoldenEye offered up to 4 players the chance to compete against each other in a variety of modes, each with its own unique twist. The sheer simplicity of getting 3 friends together on a single TV and diving into a no-holds-barred deathmatch created a social gaming experience that was both accessible and endlessly entertaining. The basic structure of the multiplayer mode was deceptively simple. Players would choose a character, pick a map, and dive into battle. But beneath this simplicity was a depth that allowed for countless hours of replayability. The game offered several different multiplayer modes, each adding its own flavor to the experience. The classic deathmatch mode, where the goal was to rack up the most kills, was a staple, but the game also included variations like You Only Live Twice, where players had just 2 lives, and License to Kill, where every hit was instantly lethal. The Man with the Golden Gun was another fan favorite, where a single powerful weapon modeled after the iconic Golden Gun from the Bond films spawned on the map, and the player who grabbed it gained a significant advantage, creating a frantic race to control this game-changing item. The variety of weapons available in multiplayer added another layer of strategy and chaos. From the standard PP7 pistol to more exotic options like proximity mines and the aforementioned Golden Gun. Each weapon brought its own strengths and weaknesses to the table. This led to intense moments of cat and mouse gameplay, where players would try to outsmart each other by laying traps, ambushing opponents, or simply outgunning them in a head-to-head shootout. The ability to customize weapon sets for each match further enhanced the experience, allowing players to create their ideal battle scenarios, whether it was an explosive-filled showdown with rocket launchers or a tense, close-quarters fight with only melee weapons. The multiplayer maps themselves were a huge part of what made GoldenEye so memorable. Many of the maps were adapted from the single-player campaign, but they were cleverly reworked to fit the fast-paced nature of multiplayer combat. Iconic locations like the Facility, Temple, and Complex became instant classics, each offering its own layout and strategic elements. The Facility, with its winding hallways and multiple rooms, was perfect for ambushes and sneaky playstyles, while the more open spaces of the complex encouraged more direct confrontations. The design of these maps struck a perfect balance between complexity and clarity, allowing for both novice and experienced players to enjoy the game equally. Another aspect that contributed to the multiplayer mode's lasting appeal was the selection of playable characters, known in the game as avatars. Players could choose from a wide array of characters, including not only James Bond himself, but also many of his allies and enemies from the movie, like Natalia, Trevelyan, and Xenia Onatop. But what really captured the imagination of players were the unlockable classic Bond villains from past films, including Oddjob, Jaws, and Baron Samedi. These characters added a layer of nostalgia and fun to the matches, and each came with their own distinct appearance and, in some cases, a slight gameplay advantage, though picking Oddjob with his notoriously shorter stature was often considered a cheat move among friends. The simplicity of the setup, just 4 players, 1 TV, and a few controllers, meant that GoldenEye became a go-to game for parties, sleepovers, and any gathering of friends. The memories created during those multiplayer sessions, full of trash talk, laughter, and the inevitable grudges that formed over particularly heated matches, are a testament to the game's lasting impact. For many, the multiplayer mode of GoldenEye was their first experience with competitive gaming, and it laid the groundwork for the multiplayer-focused games that would dominate in the years to come. The influence of GoldenEye's multiplayer mode can still be felt in modern gaming. It set a precedent for console-based shooters, proving that a well-designed multiplayer mode could thrive outside of the CC market. It showed developers the importance of creating maps that were fun to explore and master, and it demonstrated how a game could succeed by focusing on pure, unadulterated fun, rather than relying on complex systems or high-end graphics. In conclusion, the multiplayer mode of GoldenEye is nothing short of legendary. It took a simple concept and executed it so perfectly that it became the standard by which all future multiplayer shooters would be judged. The mode's combination of varied gameplay, iconic maps, and memorable characters, along with the social experience it fostered, has ensured its place in gaming history. Even today, GoldenEye's multiplayer is fondly remembered as one of the greatest and most influential experiences in the world of video games. The legacy of GoldenEye is one of the most profound in the history of video games. Its impact on both the first-person shooter genre and console gaming as a whole cannot be overstated. Released at a time when first-person shooters were predominantly a PC affair, GoldenEye not only brought the genre to the living room, but also set a new benchmark for what a console shooter could achieve. Its influence is still felt today, more than 2 decades after its release, and it remains a touchstone for developers and players alike. One of the most significant aspects of GoldenEye's legacy is how it changed perceptions of what a movie tie-in game could be. Before GoldenEye, games based on films were often rushed, poorly made cash-ins that failed to capture the essence of their source material. However, Rare's approach to GoldenEye was different. Moreover, GoldenEye was instrumental in popularizing multiplayer gaming on consoles. Before its release, split-screen multiplayer was a relatively niche feature, but GoldenEye turned it into a phenomenon. The game's multiplayer mode, with its fast-paced action, varied maps, and memorable characters, became an instant classic, creating countless memorable moments for players who gathered around a single TV. This communal aspect of gaming, where friends could compete and bond over a shared experience, was a precursor to the online multiplayer experiences that would later dominate the gaming landscape. The joy of local multiplayer, as exemplified by GoldenEye, remains a fond memory for many gamers, and it helped establish the importance of multiplayer modes in console games. The game's success also had a significant impact on the Nintendo 64 itself. While the console's appeal, particularly among older audiences who were drawn to the game's more realistic, action-oriented gameplay, in many ways, GoldenEye demonstrated that the Nintendo 64 could be more than just a platform for family-friendly titles, broadening its appeal and solidifying its place in gaming history. Console's appeal, particularly among older audiences who are drawn to the game's more realistic, action-oriented gameplay. In many ways, GoldenEye demonstrated that the Nintendo 64 could be more than just a platform for family-friendly titles, broadening its appeal and solidifying its place in gaming history. The legacy of GoldenEye is vast and multifaceted. It redefined what a first-person shooter could be, set new standards for movie tie-in games, and popularized multiplayer gaming on consoles. Its influence can be seen in countless games that followed, and its impact on the gaming industry as a whole is undeniable. Even today, GoldenEye is remembered not just as a great game, but as a milestone in the history of video games, a title that pushed the boundaries of what was possible and left an indelible mark on the medium. Thank you for joining us. If you like this deep dive into the retro world of GoldenEye, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep questing and keep gaming